From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Furniture and Mattress 86 is stocked with mattresses. Mattresses starting at $149. Try our 120-night trial. Mattresses come with a 20-year warranty. Up to 72 months, zero interest. Free local delivery and pickup. Furniture and Mattress 86 on Merchant Avenue across from the post office in Reading. If you find it for less, you should buy it.
Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Let's go ahead and take a look at your headlines here to start things off here. So the thunderstorms I've been talking about here, it's going to start today. This is going to be the day that we do expect to see some pretty strong to even severe thunderstorms, possibly heavy rainfall, the works. We're going to talk about that in more detail here in just a bit. Elevated fire risk today due to that potential for some dry lightning with these thunderstorms, despite the fact that we will see some heavy rainfall with some of them. Highs will still be below normal for this time of the year, in fact, well below normal, and we're keeping it that way even going into next week. But it is going to be warmer next week, but still most likely below normal and even below 100 degrees. Now, we're going to go into all of that in more detail here in our deeper dive forecast, but let's start with, and of course, we're going to go into the fires too here, but let's start with your Krueger's Quickcast for your Thursday, July 24th. All right, here's what we have in store for us as we take you into this morning. And you're heading out to the car, getting off ready to work. Temperatures upper 60s for the valley, mainly in the 60s, low to mid 60s for the higher elevations, fog along the coast, maybe some drizzle, and temperatures there in the mid 50s. So if you look closely, you'll see a bit of a spin to our south, kind of in the Sacramento region there, south of that over the ocean. That area of low pressure is helping to destabilize the atmosphere, transport some of the monsoon moisture over Northern California, and that's going to be the moisture source for the thunderstorms that we do see out there for today. Let's take a look at the HRRR forecast model here. And this is just a model that updates every hour and tends to be fairly accurate. However, at times to be a little bit aggressive with the overall chances for thunderstorms, although I think it's doing a pretty good job here. So by midday, early afternoon, we start to see the afternoon convection, and that's the daytime heating and the thunderstorms popping up. Lassen, Modoc, Siskiyou County. This is where we're seeing, and of course, Plumas County too. This is where we're seeing most of the thunderstorms at this point. Now, all the models really agree, at least our short-range forecast models agree, that Trinity County, for the most part, isn't going to see much activity, if any. I think places like northern Trinity County, say around Trinity Center northward into Coffee Creek, for example, yeah, maybe a straight shower or thunderstorm. But most of it, as you can see, will be in Siskiyou, Modoc County, northeastern mountains, and say around the Bernie area, the Lassen and Plumas counties as well. But then some of that may spill over into the valley later this evening and tonight, which we'll get into that here in our deeper dive here in just a bit. But there it is. Now, you'll notice I don't have lightning strikes for Trinity County. There could be a lightning strike for places like Trinity Center. Weaverville, Hayfork, Ruth, your chances are going to be slimmer. And of course, west of that, going into the inland areas, most likely dry as well. For the valley, dry today, but later this late afternoon, early evening hours, we may see some spillover and some of those showers and thunderstorms coming in from the mountains. So I've got the word chance in there for today. Keep in mind, that's mainly for this evening. But Friday, you can see some activity in the morning, and I think maybe some better chances coming in the afternoon. Then by the weekend, we're looking at those chances diminishing. It's warming up next week, but notice it's staying below 100 degrees, and which is actually the temperatures you're seeing here below normal for this time of the year. Now for the coast, low 60s. Partly to mostly cloudy skies, maybe some drizzle with some of the fog in the morning hours. So for inland, I've got you dry today. But there is a chance, especially in extreme eastern Del Norte and Humboldt counties, maybe a straight shower or thunderstorm. And then you can see I'm just keeping that chance in there for Weaverville, especially northern Trinity County. Better chances for Friday, Saturday. And then there you can see as we go into Sunday, maybe a continued off chance, and then things are to dry out after that. I think it's going to be more active for Siskiyou, Modoc County, even the eastern mountains today, tomorrow, and even Saturday. Now, Sunday, I still think there's going to be a chance for some of that activity. And you think about the activity we saw earlier this week, right? Monday, Tuesday, even yesterday. There were off chances for a few showers and thunderstorms that developed. Nothing major. And that's what I expect here for pretty much the first half of next week. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quick Cast. Real quickly before we get to our deeper dive, you can follow and track the storms very easily from your phone. Just search for Weather NorCal in your app store, space between Weather and NorCal, by the way. Download the app for free, and you can track the storms right there from your phone, and it will even tell you where the lightning strikes are. All right, let's take a look at the fire situation right now. All right, so this is really most of the activity that we've seen here has been with the Butler fire. We'll get into that here in just a second. Here's the latest on the Green fire. Still a little over 19,000 acres, 60% containment. Latest report was yesterday morning, actually. At a little after 10 o'clock yesterday morning. The evacuation order has been lifted and is now part of the evacuation warning. So we still just see that fire perimeter really hasn't changed much, and we haven't seen really much, if any, growth over the last 24 hours. Now the Butler fire, still very active fire. There have been a lot of parts, especially to the southeast part of the fire, where they've been really keeping a close eye on and really trying to get a handle on this fire. Now you see some of the red on the map, the red dots. That's where the most recent activity is. So we are seeing some of that activity kind of near the firing operations. That is that line that they're trying to really develop to prevent the fire from spreading any farther to the south. And it seems like, from latest reports, that it is holding quite nicely, and they don't really have a whole lot of concerns with that. A lot of evacuation orders, a lot of evacuation warnings. You need to know where your zone is, just so you know what your situation is. There you can see kind of a closer look at the community of Forks of Salmon, and you can see there's just that still honing in and really moving in a little bit closer to parts of the community. But overall, they're getting a really good handle on this. Once again, we take a look at some of the recent fire activity here. The red, that's the most recent. That's about 6 to 12 hours old. So we are seeing, again, some activity just to the east of Forks of Salmon. In the meantime, they haven't seen really any growth on the west side of the fire, so we're still about 4.8 miles from Orleans approximately, and approximately from Soames Bar, about 4.4 miles. Again, there hasn't been any movement any closer to these communities. Let's go ahead and take a look at the red fire. This is one of those things where I report it every day, but it's pretty much the same song and dance. 116 acres at 80% containment as of July 22nd in the morning. Take a look at the Summit fire. This is as of July 21st, 6:32 p.m., still at 701 acres and 90% containment. All right, that's a look at the fires here. Let's take a look at the smoke real quickly. And some of this smoke is going to be dampened by the fact that we are seeing some of the showers and thunderstorms out there. But you can see the bulk of the smoke that's being produced, once again, is coming in from the Butler fire, some of it impacting Trinity County, western Siskiyou, and eastern portions of Del Norte and Humboldt counties here over the next 24 to even 48 hours. Again, same situation that we've seen over the last few days. Well, I just gave you the report on the fires, right? But those numbers can change rapidly. So if you want to stay up to date on things, all you got to do is go to weathernorcal.com, click on the fire danger section, and you've got all of the information right there on the website. You can also get that information from your phone. Let's take a look at the wind gusts out there, and you can see that the winds are picking up. But the main winds that you see here, especially in the mountains, those are wind gusts that will be generated by thunderstorms. The winds you see in the valley is just your typical afternoon breezy conditions before those die down going into your Friday morning. But I do think that those winds will pick up, again, especially with those thunderstorms developing in the mountains here for your Friday afternoon. The fire weather watch has been upgraded to a red flag warning for all of the areas in red. Still that fire weather watch in southern Humboldt and southern Trinity County, but this is basically for today. Thunderstorms producing dry lightning. I think it might be overdoing it for Trinity County and even, say, northern Humboldt and even eastern Del Norte County, as I think the best chance for lightning-sparked fires will be in Siskiyou, Modoc County. And quite honestly, I'm a little confused as to why the Weather Service has not included the eastern mountains, which would include the mountains of Shasta County, Lassen, Plumas counties. those are also areas that are going to see thunderstorms. As we take a look at the big picture, you can still see that area of low pressure spinning to our south. You see that counterclockwise spin, and you can see it a little bit more clearly with the water vapor image. So if you look at the south of Sacramento, you'll see just that little bit of that, not actually, it's a pretty big spin. It's an area of low pressure spinning. Now, the rotation around that area of low pressure will actually help to transport some monsoon moisture coming in from the desert southwest, and that'll be a bit of that moisture source for these thunderstorms. So I think this is doing a pretty good job. I think it's heading a little bit too far to the west and even to the south in Trinity County. But Siskiyou, mountains of Shasta County, Modoc, Lassen, Plumas counties, all seeing that potential for thunderstorms here later this afternoon. And where we have the best potential for dry lightnings is the areas in brown and that salmon color. And I think that's also doing a pretty good job, because when we look at Futurecast, you're going to see that we're not seeing as much activity in western Siskiyou County for today. Now, tomorrow, you'll notice the valley is included in that. We could see some activity even for parts of the valley for tomorrow. And Saturday is another day we're going to have to watch, most of it in the mountains, but we'll have to watch for the valley at this point. So let's take a look at Futurecast and kind of walk you through all of this. So right around midday, early afternoon, we start to see the afternoon convection, especially over Siskiyou, Modoc, and Lassen counties. It starts to flare up a little bit more by mid-afternoon. You can see the thunderstorms popping up in Lassen, Modoc, and Siskiyou counties. Now let's take you into 6 p.m. today. Mount Shasta eastward, thunderstorms in Modoc County, northeastern Shasta County around Bernie, Fall River Mills, Ayden, maybe even Montgomery Creek getting caught up in some of that. Also, you're seeing some of the thunderstorms out towards Susanville, Lassen County, and into parts of Plumas County as well. Now, look at this. The flow around the area of low pressure has the storms rotating around the area of low pressure, and that flow is generally moving from east to west as we're on the north side of that flow of the low pressure system. So that could transport some of the thunderstorms from the mountains into the valley and could even produce a few thunderstorms there as well. Now, this model in particular is pretty active with Glenn and Butte counties, but I do think that places like Corning, Red Bluff, maybe even Redding could get caught up in some of this flow as well. But once we get closer to midnight hour, that's all pretty much wrapping up. But we may see a stray sprinkle or a light shower for even parts of the valley here for the early morning hours on Friday. Now we take you into midday on Friday. Once again, it's kind of one of those, it's going to happen again, right? We got the thunderstorms popping up. Only this time, I think there's a better chance with thunderstorms tomorrow in Trinity County. This will also include Siskiyou County and the mountains east of the valley as well. As we go into your Friday evening, we're seeing now the bulk of the activity in the eastern mountains, but still some thunderstorms in Trinity and Siskiyou County. The valley, for the most part, steering clear of most of this activity here. And due to the flow, the nature of the flow, the valley may have a hard time getting some of the action. However, we could still see a stray shower or a thunderstorm in parts of the valley for Friday evening and into Friday night. After midnight, we start to see things dry out. We see a bit of a break Saturday morning. Midday, this is as far as the forecast model goes here this morning. Until midday Saturday, we're beginning to see more of that afternoon convection begin to develop. I think it's going to be one of those situations where most of the activity will be in Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties, but even Trinity County could get caught up in some of that action as well. Long range, doing an okay job here. I think for Sunday, it's underplaying the activity here, but I do think places like Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties could see a chance for some more thunderstorms. And then really much like what we saw earlier this week, I think there's going to be off and on chances for showers and thunderstorms for many of the higher elevations, in particular Siskiyou and Modoc counties for Monday, Tuesday, and that may even linger on into Wednesday of next week as well. Okay, now we switch gears. We're going to talk more about the temperatures. Right? And that's been a big headline for us up until this point because temperatures have been well below normal. We started with this cooling trend in the mid 80s for the valley, in particular around the Redding area. Temperatures have slowly increased after that as that mild air migrates northward. Now, that's going to keep our temperatures at bay through the weekend. But by Monday, Tuesday of next week, that mild air kind of moves on out, the heat off to our east will expand into our region, not move over us, but expand into our region, and that's going to allow our temperatures to increase, but still staying below 100 degrees in the valley and staying below normal for this time of the year as well, just warmer. Instead of the upper 80s, low 90s, we're looking at temperatures in the valley probably somewhere in the mid to upper 90s for your daytime highs. So where does that put us in the temperature outlook? Well, the warmer air to our north, cooler air to our south, we're between the two. So we're going to be closer to normal for this time of the year as we kind of go into that extended range. In fact, take a look at that 10-day trend here for Redding. We're seeing more of those temperatures back in the mid to upper 90s as opposed to the upper 80s, low 90s that we're going to see for the rest of this week and through a good portion of the weekend. But as I mentioned, by next week, we're talking temperatures upper 90s for Redding. I think Chico probably closer to the low to mid 90s. And we look at the July high temperatures. You can see a lot of blue squares on the map here indicating temperatures below normal. And if we were to extend this into Thursday, Friday, even Saturday, we'd still be looking at those temperatures below normal. And even going into next week, we're talking about warmer temperatures, but normal high for the valley, especially for Redding, is about 100 to 101 degrees. So if we keep it below 100, we're still below normal for this time of the year, believe it or not. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our wave heights. And there's really not a whole lot to talk about here because there's not going to be much change here. Don't have to worry about small craft advisories. It's just the fog that you're going to have to worry about here if you do need to be out there fishing. Northwest winds at about 5 knots, waves from the northwest at 2 feet at 8 seconds, and there's that patchy dense fog. Especially in the morning, some of that may burn off by the afternoon. So, in the 7-day forecasts get a little tricky here depending on where you are. Where I put chance is basically saying, hey, listen, you most likely won't see much activity here, but don't be surprised if it happens. Where you actually see lightning strikes is where you have the best chances for thunderstorms at least those days. So for the coast, no showers, no thunderstorms. Maybe some drizzle with that fog, but that's really the extent of it. Now for the inland areas, today I'm keeping it dry. But tomorrow, some of those thunderstorms may spill over into eastern Del Norte and into eastern Humboldt counties as well. For Siskiyou County, I've got the thunderstorms in there. And I will say this, for basically Scott Valley westward into western Siskiyou County, I think your chances are going to be a bit slimmer for those thunderstorms, but keep in mind, the chances are still there. Central eastern Siskiyou County is where I think we'll see the bulk of the activity today. Modoc County, you got thunderstorms pretty much across the board, heavy rainfall, gusty winds, hail, the works, lightning. And you can see the best chances will continue through the weekend, and then maybe some off and on chances here for early next week. The Eastern Mountains, thunderstorms here through the weekend as well. Temperatures in the 80s and 90s, although places like Viola, about 74, 77 degrees for Mineral. And your valley neighborhood forecast to the south, mid to upper 80s, so more pleasant temperatures here. Now the chance in there you see for Thursday and Friday for the valley, basically for this evening and tonight. That's the best chance. It's dry today, all right? Keep that in mind. We go into Friday, you can see some early morning showers and maybe some afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Again, slim chance, but the chances are there nonetheless. Be aware of that. By the weekend, you're dry. Temperatures in the mid-90s for Chico by Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. For the north end of the valley, temperatures upper 80s to low 90s. 91 degrees for Redding, 91 for Palo Cedro, and 88 degrees in Whiskeytown. And your 7-day forecast for Redding, again, that chance mainly this evening and tonight. Otherwise, it's going to be dry today. And then tomorrow, there may be some early morning showers, a sprinkle or two, and then maybe some afternoon activity here for Friday for the valley in general. Then you can see temperatures staying below normal. We're in the upper 80s to low 90s through the weekend. And look at this. I mean, we're up to 97, 98 for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Keep in mind, the normal highs are around 100 to 101, so that's still below normal for this time of the year. All right, that's a look at your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for your latest forecast. Until then, have a great morning.
Construction season is well underway in the Northstate, and we'd like to remind drivers to slow down around work zones. Keep Caltrans workers safe when they're on the job, and remember to be work zone alert when you see the color orange. Remember to pay attention to signs, merge early, avoid distractions, and don't speed. This message is brought to you by Caltrans District 2.